I knew Travis was going to be trouble the moment he strolled into our Dallas office on his first day and tried to high-five me like we were at a tailgate. Not a quick nice to meet you, either full eye contact, arm extended, waiting for a slap like we were frat brothers. I just stared at him over the rim of my glasses, holding a printout of 5 columns of uptime violations from last quarter, and said, "We use email here." That was a Monday. By Thursday, he'd already called his first Vision Summit, tossing around words like synergize and harmonize operational throughput. He showed up with a laminated roadmap in Comic Sans and a PowerPoint deck that looked like it had been designed by a kid on a sugar rush. During that meeting, he locked eyes with Mimi, the woman who had built the disaster recovery protocol after the great outage of 2015 that kept this company from losing $12 million in a single night, and said, "Even our coffee girls are trying to be engineers these days, huh?" The room went still. Not long, just long enough for the air to sour. Someone gave a half chuckle, then swallowed it hard. I didn't blink. I didn't flinch. I just uncapped my red pen and circled a glaring typo on his slide: redundancy spelled as redundancy. Fitting. He kept talking about retiring clutter and modernizing our culture. Apparently, I was part of the clutter. Imagine that. 20 years of systems architecture, mainframe migrations, cross-platform integrations, and I was just the old file you dragged to the recycle bin before a rebrand. For the record, if you're watching this and haven't subscribed yet, 97% of you haven't. I checked the analytics. I've built more secure systems with a pot of burnt diner coffee at 2 a.m. than Travis could manage on his best day. Subscribing doesn't just help the channel, it keeps these glorious corporate train wrecks coming to you in full HD. Anyway, back to the slow-motion disaster. I didn't yell. I didn't slam a door. That's not my style. I highlighted every line of his innovation strategy that would break federal compliance and mentally filed it under things that will come back to bite him so hard he'll taste Ethernet. I'd survived 4 CTOs, 3 reorgs, and 1 server room fire. Travis was just another overpriced suit with a Bluetooth headset and an ego that couldn't handle a patch update. But I watched. Oh, I watched. Every password he changed without mapping dependencies. Every script he optimized without knowing the triggers. Every wire he moved like a toddler playing with a toaster. He was moving cables like a kid playing Operation Only. This was a live bomb, and grinning the whole time. At one point, he strolled past my cubicle, protein shake in hand, and said, "Hey, sweetheart, can you make sure someone grabs lunch for the Salesforce guys?" I peered over my glasses. "Sure thing, Travis. Right after I fix the DNS leak you caused by deleting our internal lookup zones." He blinked. The what? Exactly. But the hint didn't land. A week later, I was restructured out. Just like that. No exit interview, no handshake. Just an email saying my credentials would be revoked by 5:00 p.m. and a PDF attachment of my severance letter signature line blank. He didn't even sign it. That part will matter later. I left with my coffee mug, my leather portfolio, and one little thing he didn't know existed: the hardware key tied to the company's emergency recovery protocol. The system Travis was so eager to wipe, I had built it myself in 2015 after our downtown Dallas data center nearly cooked itself during a faulty fire suppression test. Legal had wanted a tamper-proof offline failover solution. I designed it, documented it, and per company policy linked activation to a physical security token. Mine. Still active. Still very, very private. But Travis never asked. Too busy adding Slack emojis and tweeting about disrupting legacy thinking. So I just nodded, waved, and walked out. Left him with his spotless dashboards and his shiny buzzwords. Not that I went far. I kept an eye on things because I knew the coffee girl was gone, but the caffeine crash was coming. The consultants rolled in on a Thursday, 3 guys in matching quarter zips, with the kind of haircuts you get when your barber hates you, but your father sits on a board. One asked where the legacy log rotation files were stored. I told him, On your mom's fridge, right next to your resume. No smile. They never do. Travis paraded them around like show ponies. They're here to modernize. Apparently, modernization meant renaming servers from DC Backup Posh North 01 to Vision Node Alpha. Another stroke of genius from the man who once asked if VPN tunnels could be made more visually transparent. By Friday, I was out of the root access group. By Monday, my name was gone from the IT change calendar. By Wednesday, my ticket started auto-closing with no comments. Cute. It wasn't an immediate exile that would have taken courage. Travis preferred slow bleed-outs. Travis reshuffled the org chart like it was a deck of bad poker cards. Reporting lines shifted. Projects got reassigned. Teams flattened until nobody could tell who owned what anymore. One week, I was leading the company's disaster recovery program, the system I'd built from the ground up. The next, I was sticking barcode labels on server racks like it was my first day at a big box electronics store. Then came the meeting. "Hey, Marla," he said, spinning in his chair like some bargain bin Bond villain in clearance khakis. "We're doing a full documentation push." He leaned back, all casual arrogance. "Need every workflow and credential end to end." I looked up. "Including security access protocols, especially those." "Gotta be transparent, right?" I smiled. "Transparency's important." That's when I knew. Any halfway competent IT director would have started there. You always begin with the recovery protocols, off-site backups, encryption keys, the real backbone. But not Travis. He thought disaster recovery lived in a shared Google Drive folder. He didn't realize what he'd missed. Never once asked about the hardware key. Didn't even know it existed. Buried in the original recovery plan signed off by the CTO before him was a clause requiring dual auth hardware tokens for the final stage failover stored physically to prevent remote tampering. That token still on my keychain. Still active. Still glowing like a tiny, smug lighthouse. So I gave him what he asked for: diagrams, sanitized configs, pretty tables. I even color-coded the access hierarchy chart green for active red, for deprecated blue, for good luck moron. But I left out one thing: the unlock script. If you want to see how this story unfolds, and be there for the next moment when the underdog takes the lead, hit that subscribe button. You won't want to miss what comes next. The trigger string that would spin up the real failover environment. The one I'd coded myself after the 2015 Dallas data center fire suppression disaster, the protocol that could bring the system back from the dead in under 10 minutes. I kept it on an encrypted drive, air-gapped from everything else, labeled family recipes. Because technically, it was mine. No one had paid me to build it. I'd done it after hours, fueled by stubborn pride and gas station Cabernet. The next morning, HR emailed, "We're moving in a new direction. Your services are no longer required. No exit interview, no handshake, just an instant login timeout and a courier at my desk with a cardboard box." I walked out with my box, my badge, and my keyring. On that keyring was a small black hardware token Travis never once asked about, because men like him never imagine the coffee girl holds the keys to the kingdom. 2 days after my forced exit, the first post went live. A photo of Travis at the whiteboard, Sharpie in hand, sleeves rolled up like he'd just solved the Riemann hypothesis. Caption: "Bringing clarity to legacy systems, day 1 of the cleanse." I nearly spit out my tea. Behind him, still visible, was my disaster recovery schema. The one from my last war room session, half erased, half misinterpreted, completely mangled. He'd drawn arrows in the wrong direction, renamed server nodes like he was assembling IKEA furniture, and slapped on a sticky note that read, "Cloudify this." My notes were smeared across the board like blood on snow. He had no idea what he was looking at. None. The comments were worse. "Love this leadership energy. Finally, someone taking initiative. Legacy tech is just fear in code form." I laughed so hard I almost pulled a muscle. That week, the company's LinkedIn lit up like a Christmas tree wired to a short circuit. Modernization initiative underway. Systems audit complete. A new era of agility. Travis even posted a selfie from the server room arms slung around a bewildered contractor like they were frat brothers at a tailgate. Meanwhile, Kayla, the junior engineer sharp kid maybe 2 years in, emailed me from her personal account. Hey Marla, sorry about what happened. Just wanted you to know they don't understand half the scripts. They deleted something yesterday and now the financial reporting tool exports in Portuguese. Travis thinks it's a regional setting. It wasn't. I sipped my coffee, didn't reply. Not yet. Instead, I opened the encrypted backups I'd squirreled away protocol's credential trees, warning logs from every near miss. Then I logged into my LLC dashboard, flipped my status from dormant to active, updated my resume, and quietly added a consulting rate $600 per hour. Emergency response billed in 15-minute increments. Premium for stupidity. I wasn't going to interfere. That mattered. No sabotage, no mystery errors. Let the record show. I wasn't bitter. I was ready. Because here's the thing about legacy systems, Travis. You don't cleanse them like a juice detox. You learn their moods, their fail-safes, the scars left in their code. And buried deep in that tangle is a single line, written by someone who bled at 3 a.m. to keep your world running. Written by someone who bled at 3 or 0 a.m. to keep this company breathing while everyone else slept. But Travis was a LinkedIn evangelist with a messiah complex and the technical depth of a puddle. He thought systems failed in grand cinematic crashes. They don't. They fail in whispers. A slow creep in latency. Ghost jobs piling up in the scheduler. Backups quietly skipping cycles. 1,000 little paper cuts in the code waiting for the wrong Monday to bleed out. So I waited, kept my inbox open, and I watched through a forgotten Grafana dashboard no one had bothered to revoke my read-only access to. A latency spike in Node Cluster 6. A backup job rerun 4 times in one night. An unauthorized IP address quietly whitelisted by one of Travis's smart rules. The ghost in the machine wasn't me. It was the silence before the breach. The first ripple came on a Tuesday at 7:46 a.m., a slight delay in the claims portal. 3.5 seconds longer to load. Harmless unless you know the signs. By noon, the finance report generator was coughing up nonsense. Not just wrong numbers, impossible ones. Negative premiums. A policy from Ohio somehow registered under the Kingdom of Bavaria. The team blamed the BI plugin. They reinstalled it, restarted it, ran a script that basically smacked the server and prayed. But I'd seen this before. It always starts with timing drift, then data anomalies, then... Well, you'll see. Wednesday, 9:22 a.m. An email from one of my old vendors, the kind that still uses a fax line for redundancy. Subject license renewal gap final notice. That was one of my manual jobs. Not flashy, but critical. That vendor ran the legal archiving platform that kept us compliant with federal record retention laws. Travis had cut it from the workflow. Too many moving pieces, he'd said. Let's consolidate. He didn't get it. Some pieces need to move. Otherwise, a system rots like still water. Thursday, 11:04 a.m. A client flagged a sync issue. Multi-$1,000 claims duplicated timestamps 1 second apart. Support told them it was a known caching bug and to clear their browser cookies. That's like telling a drowning man to just swim better. Then came Kayla's message. Hey Marla, something's off. Think it could be routing reports are timing out now. Travis says it's network congestion, but it feels wrong. I stared at the screen. Then I typed a single line. Check the secondary DNS routes. If those were failing over too early, the load balancer was flying blind. Kayla didn't reply, but 50 minutes later, the dashboard spikes leveled off. She'd found it for now. Like patching a cracked dam with a glue stick. The truth, I wasn't thrilled. Maybe a little smug. But mostly it was the same low, heavy dread you feel before a tornado hits that silent drop in pressure. Because this wasn't sabotage. This wasn't a comic book villain twirling a mustache. This was negligence, the kind that starts in a PowerPoint deck and rots an entire data center from the inside. The kind that makes people like Travis think they're untouchable gods, until the servers stop obeying and the lights go dark. And I knew it was coming. Not because I wanted it to, but because it was written into the code the day he deleted my name from the routing protocols and ignored the do not modify critical path warning. You can't debug arrogance, but you can predict its failure. It happened on a Monday, of course. 9:05 a.m. Peak login traffic, phones buzzing, dashboards spinning up, clients sipping bad break room coffee while opening their policy portals, and then nothing. White screens, endless loading circles, the spinning gif of death. From my apartment 3 miles away, I saw the first alert on the forgotten Grafana board they'd never disabled. Node timeout sector A, B, C. It spread like mold. Within 60 seconds, every major access point was red. The heartbeat line flatlined. The core system was gone. I leaned back, took a slow sip from my world's okayest sysadmin mug, and exhaled. It had arrived. Inside the office, chaos bloomed. Slack channels erupted. Zoom calls piled on top of each other. Travis's voice carried through every open floor speaker. This is just a temporary outage. Minor anomaly. Everyone follow the protocol. Cute, if there had been a protocol. Kayla tried. God bless her. She pulled up Travis's shiny emergency response guide, the one with color-coded headers and zero real content. Section 3.1.2 said, "Initiate backup reload process." No one knew where the backups lived. Travis had moved everything to a secure hybrid cloud without defining which cloud or who had access. Meanwhile, ticket queues ballooned like roadkill in the Texas heat, like roadkill under the Texas sun. Clients were locked out of claims portals, underwriting tools, and internal contract databases. Agents couldn't process premiums or issue policy renewals, and the financial hit every second was in the six figures. Not a projection, not a theory. Actual measurable bleeding cash, SLA violations, missed transactions, canceled appointments, legal exposure climbing by the minute. Someone on the executive floor floated a rollback. Except, no one knew which version to roll back to because Travis had replaced the changelog with emojis. In the background, a nervous voice asked, "Do we have, like, a physical failover site? Something offline?" Kayla stayed quiet. She didn't know. Only I did. And I hadn't exactly made it simple. The external failover, the real one, required hardware validation, multi-stage authentication, and a manual trigger through a protocol I'd built after the 2015 Dallas data center meltdown. I called it Operation Lazarus, because yes, I'm dramatic like that. It was designed to rise from the dead only when the company absolutely needed it. And Travis, he'd never even opened the manual. I watched the Slack leaks hit Reddit screenshots of panicked leadership timestamps showing the system had been down over 30 minutes. No one knew who'd built what, but clients knew. They always do. The customer hotline was jammed. The emergency broadcast system meant to push coordinated updates to every client hadn't been tested since before I left. Then a message landed in my inbox from Kayla. Subject line: Urgent. We need help. Please. He's flailing. We can't get anything online. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. This wasn't satisfaction. Not really. It was vindication laced with dread because I knew this wasn't just a crash. It was a reckoning for Travis and for everyone who thought experience was dead weight and ego could be automated. The machine had stopped humming. And now they were about to learn what silence sounds like. They always think the broadcast tool will save them some slick corporate video with stock piano music and a VP trying to look empathetic. A pacifier for clients while the servers burn, except no one had updated it since 2020. So when Travis slammed the big red client assurance mode button like he was launching a missile, all they got was 7 seconds of black screen, then a dusty clip of the previous CIO explaining a routine maintenance window from a year and a half ago. Static. Silence. Then suddenly, a live feed. And there he was, tie askew, forehead shining panic, bleeding through the edges of his business school confidence. No teleprompter, no prep. No plan. Good morning, valued partners. Travis began, already sweating through his pale blue dress shirt. We're experiencing some unforeseen technical anomalies across our systems. He rolled into a mess of jargon. The core infrastructure has experienced a temporary latency degradation resulting in partial inaccessibility of certain client-facing services. Translation: we broke it, have no clue how, and we're hoping you don't notice we're flying blind. The client chat exploded. What happened to our data? We missed the compliance filing window. 6 hours of policy renewals are gone. Then came the hits. Where's Marla? Another bring back Marla. And the dagger. Your coffee girl wouldn't have let this happen. Travis glanced at the monitor color draining from his face. He stammered, whispered to someone off camera, then tried again. We've isolated the issue to a legacy script conflict and are actively nonsense. The board was watching. Hundreds of clients were watching. And none of them were buying it. I sat at my kitchen table in Dallas, laptop open, stirring sugar into my coffee, like I was watching a Shakespearean tragedy. This wasn't just a technical outage. This was what happens when you fire the one holding the parachute without asking where the ripcord is. Now the plane was nosediving, the cockpit was on fire, and everyone was screaming for one person. Not him. Me. I didn't smile. Not yet. It took 42 minutes for him to break. 42 minutes of frozen screens, corporate filler, and chat messages swinging from fury to dumpster fire gifs. 42 minutes of trying to stall while the company's digital skeleton crumbled live on camera. Then came the pause. The breath. His shoulders sagged. If anyone can contact Marla Jensen, Travis said into the lens, we need assistance. It was like hearing your name from a ghost you'd buried too soon. I didn't move. The silence in my kitchen was louder than the sirens in his eyes. Then the pings came. Ding. Kayla, he said your name. Ding. Legal. Can we talk privately? Urgently. Ding. A no-caller ID, Marla, please. We didn't know. 9 more messages followed. One was just a single word. Please. I closed the laptop, finished my coffee, brushed the crumbs from my sweatshirt, and stood up. There was only one place to go. Not HQ, that was a meat grinder of panicked execs and smoldering servers by now. I headed downtown instead. The backup center. The one nobody remembered to decommission. Cement walls, steel door, and a faded sign that still read, Keo location, 3rd floor. The same one Travis once called a glorified broom closet. I still had the keycard. Still had the badge. Still knew the code etched into my muscle memory, 742651. The server room door opened like it had been waiting for me. The air smelled of cold metal and dried toner ink. Inside, softly humming, was the old backup node. The heartbeat light blinked faint but steady, like it knew me, like it remembered. I walked past rows of silent racks, past the emergency override terminal, until I reached the unit marked Fail-Safe Primary, the one they'd listed as legacy clutter in last quarter's asset report. 1 USB port. 1 badge reader. I pulled the lanyard from my pocket, the one I'd kept not for nostalgia, but because I knew this day would come. Swiped the badge. Beep. The light turned green. My access was still active. Not because they forgot, but because no one else knew how to revoke it. I rested my hand on the cold metal, letting the outside chaos breathe for a moment longer. Let them feel it, the fall of their pride, the rise of mine. The broadcast room reeked of sweat panic and too much cologne. A half-eaten protein bar lay on the floor. The LED wall flickered behind Travis like a haunted disco. Phones rang. Assistants cried. Executives looked 10 years older than when the day started. I walked in without a word. Didn't look left or right. Just cut straight through the wreckage of ego and incompetence, heels clicking like a metronome of doom. Travis was mid-sentence spinning out some desperate line about containerized service integration when he saw me. He froze, like he'd seen a ghost. Technically, he had. I didn't acknowledge him. I sat down front and center, directly in view of the live broadcast streaming to every client partner and board member. Then I went to work. 3 commands, that's all it took. First command, spin up the isolated backup node from the downtown co-location center. Second command, restore the routing schema from the Lazarus protocol. Third command, initiate the client-side session validation bypass for emergency logins. Within 5 minutes, the dashboard indicators lit up like a Christmas tree. Green, green, green. Client portals restored. Policy data unfrozen. Billing transactions processed and queued. 80% of full operational capacity rebuilt from the dirt up in less time than it takes Travis to butcher a single sentence. The chat feed erupted. It's Marla. She fixed it. Never doubt the coffee girl. I turned toward the camera. Finally, I spoke. The other 20% I said slowly, each word slicing clean through the live feed, is encrypted. A beat. Somewhere off-screen, someone gasped. The decryption key, I continued, is attached to the severance letter you mailed me. The one with the signature line left blank. Travis made a noise, not a word, not even a proper whimper. More like the sound a man makes when he realizes the final boss is the quiet woman he mocked in meetings. I didn't blink. The feed flickered. A new face appeared in the top right corner, the board chair. He didn't waste a second. He leaned forward like addressing a queen at court. Marla, he said, voice calm but hoarse. What's your rate? I didn't smile. Not yet. I let the silence answer for me. Because in that moment, everyone watching understood this wasn't Travis's company anymore. This wasn't just a recovery. This was a coronation. I reached into my pocket and pulled out the small black hardware key edges, worn smooth from 15 years of keychains, late-night deployments, and 3 a.m. system reboots. It wasn't flashy. It didn't glow. It didn't beep. But it had more power in that moment than Travis had in his entire brittle career. I held it up to the camera for a beat, letting every board member, every client, every smug contractor watching see it clearly. Then I plugged it in. Click. A soft hum rolled through the system as the final 20% of the infrastructure came online. The air shifted. The tension dropped like a server room's temperature after a fire suppression release. Notifications began flooding the screen one after another in an unstoppable wave. Ping after ping. Successful syncs. Restored databases. Reconciled transactions. Systems that had been flatlined for nearly an hour were suddenly breathing again. Even the internal chat server, which had been nothing but panic pings and emoji meltdowns, lit up in a solid wall of green statuses. Then came the messages, Marla for CTO. Who needs Travis Absolute Queen? Thank you, thank you, thank you. Applause emojis, heart emojis. A gift storm that could have doubled as a ticker tape parade. Travis gone. He walked off camera midstream like a disgraced cruise ship magician who'd just botched his final trick. One of the techs leaned over and whispered that he'd left the building entirely, laptop still open, badge abandoned on his desk. No goodbye. No explanation. I stayed in the chair for 1 more minute. Let it soak in. Let the gravity of the moment settle into every CPU, every rack, every blinking status light. Then I shut the terminal, stood and walked out. No words, no wave. By the time I got home, my inbox looked like a war zone, meeting invites, job offers, and some truly creative groveling. I ignored all of it except for one. A clean PDF. Subject line, consulting contract, Marla Jensen, 600 hour. Retroactive to the minute Travis had said my name on air. It included a disaster containment bonus clause tied to SLA fulfillment over the next 72 hours. I signed it electronically, cracked open a bottle of wine older than Travis's management career, and sank into my worn leather desk chair. The phone buzzed again. Probably Kayla. I let it go to voicemail. My work here was done. No sabotage, no secret script, no manufactured chaos. I just waited. I let them expose themselves, let them walk barefoot into broken glass and call it innovation. All I did was show up with the broom. They called me coffee girl, but they're the ones who'll need caffeine to clean up the mess they made. Appreciate you sticking around, you legends of the break room. I want to hear from you, all of you who've ever been underestimated, dismissed, or labeled as something less than what you truly are. You just heard my story, and while yes, there's a little satisfaction in watching the pieces fall exactly where they were, always going to. The truth is, this wasn't about revenge. It was about holding on to your worth even when someone else can't see it. If you've ever been in a job where your ideas were ignored until someone else repeated them louder, or your work was minimized because your title didn't scream executive, I want you to drop a comment and tell me your story. I want to know, how did you handle it? Did you walk away? Did you fight back? Or did you bide your time like I did? Your words might be the encouragement someone else needs to hear today. And here's my advice: never give away the keys to your value. I don't mean literal keys, though. In my case, it kind of was. I mean, the knowledge, the skill, the proof of what you can do. Document it, protect it, own it. The world will try to make you believe you're replaceable, but here's the secret. The people who quietly keep things running are usually the hardest to truly replace. That's power. So if you've been written off, called too much, or not enough, don't waste your energy proving them wrong on their timeline. Build, prepare, and let their own decisions reveal the truth. And when that moment comes, step in with calm, steady hands and let your work speak louder than any insult ever could. Now tell me, what's your coffee girl moment? I'm ready to read every single one.